have something that I think is going to help you guys a lot. This kind of ultimate guide to videos I've been making is a new series that I want to be putting out. So if you ever see ultimate guide to in the title of my videos, the goal for that type of video is to put every single bit of knowledge that I have about whatever it is I'm talking about into that ultimate guide. So today we're going to be talking about After Effects tracking. I'm going to talk about everything from facial tracking to mask tracking to all the different ways you can motion track. So before we start the tutorial, just want to remind you guys to consider subscribing, joining the community. Check out all the relevant links below. We have links to my website where you guys can pick up presets for Premiere, After Effects, stuff like that. So anyways, let's hop right into After Effects and we're going to get started on this. So first, let's just talk about some of the most common ways to track. So if you right click on your clip and you go to track and stabilize, you're going to see some options: track camera, track motion, track mask. If you ever have any track options grayed out, just double click on that composition so that you're in a layer. It still says composition, so I'm going to double click it again. Now we're in the layer. So now I can right click, go up to track and stabilize, and now as you can see, those options are available. So let's start off with something simple. We're going to do track camera. Now keep in mind that this is going to depend on your footage a lot. So if you're using track camera, you want to make sure you're using footage that is well lit as well as it's stabilized. If you have bad footage, sometimes this track camera isn't even going to go through. So let's go ahead and click it. So let's just click back to composition, right click, and let's go to track and stabilize, track camera. And as you guys are going to see, it's going to analyze in the background. In the top left here, if you're in your effect controls, you can see the percentage and what frame it is currently analyzing. The 3D camera tracker thankfully worked in this case, and I'm going to scroll through and just give you a little bit of a breakdown. Since we're talking about a lot, I'm not going to spend too long on each of these, but basically you're going to see all these little points tracked to the scene, and if you put your mouse around, you're going to have this little bullseye which you can then right click and then place different things. So basically what the 3D camera tracker is doing, it's analyzing the footage and it's trying to recreate a camera based on the camera that was used to shoot the footage. So if we go up to our effect controls and we click create camera, we're going to have this little 3D tracker camera layer, which is really useful because this contains all of the tracking information that we can use to actually track things within the scene. As you see, all these little keyframes. If you want to bring up those 3D points again, just click on your layer, click on your 3D camera tracker, and let me give you a little example. So we have all these little track points on this bullseye. So I'm going to put my selector over here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to click create solid. And you're going to see it creates a little track solid layer, which just sticks to that point. That orange solid layer is going to stay pasted onto that bullseye area. I made a video on using this method with the track solids, pre-composing them, adding different things to composite like fire. I'll link that below. Another cool little application is if you have this 3D camera tracker already made, you can bring in any 3D object or even text and just make it a 3D layer, and it's going to follow that tracker and it's going to stay pasted on the video. So let's go ahead and throw some text on here. I'm just going to use my text tool. Now, if I scroll through, it's just pasted on the screen. As you can see, it's just staying in the same place. But if I go ahead and open up the options for this, so you see this button here that says toggle switches and modes, click that until you see this little 3D cube. Check the 3D cube for your text layer, and it's going to make it a 3D layer. Now it disappeared just because it kind of moved over, but as you can see, it's tracked in with the actual camera shot. And once you make something a 3D layer, you can actually open up your transform options for it. You're actually going to get some 3D options. So now you have the option to change orientation. Also, as you guys can see, you can now move things along the Z axis. So let's just move things into frame. Let's go ahead and throw in some little 3D object and I'll show you the same method. So I'm just going to use Element 3D. I made a bunch of videos talking about Element 3D if you guys want to look into it, made by Video Copilot. So I'm going to drop that down. Go ahead and just drop in a little default icon, click OK. And then you don't even have to check 3D layer for this. Since it's a 3D object, it's automatically going to be tracked. So that's the 3D camera tracker. Like I said, you can do some really powerful stuff such as compositing things in. It's great for that, as well as creating some 3D objects that are blended with real life 3D text that's going around and following a specific path of the camera. There's a bunch of different things you can do with the 3D camera tracker, and I definitely use it a lot in my own projects. Plus, I've used it in a lot of tutorials. The next thing that we're going to talk about, let's right click and let's go to track and stabilize. We're going to go to track motion. Now, I think this is the most basic form of tracking. What it does is it just creates this little track point. You're also going to see that it opens up your tracker window. So what you need to do is take this track point, place it on whatever it is you're trying to track in the scene. For example, I'm just going to put it on his earring right here. You need to have this sort of placeholder which can sit and take the tracking information that you're going to get from this. So it's actually a lot more simple than it sounds. Just right click anywhere down here in this gray space, go to new, and then create a null. And this null object is going to serve as that blank layer which contains the tracking information. So you can right click and name it and just name it tracking info. Then what you're going to want to do is come over to your tracking window that opened up once you click track motion. You'll see it over here. If you're not seeing it lit up, just click on the layer. You might even have to open it up and open up the motion tracker and click on one of these things. So let's make this a little bit bigger for you guys to see. Sometimes you might have your window like this. Most of the options are hidden here, so you might have to take your window and just drag it down. First thing you're going to want to do when you're tracking motion is click edit target. Usually defaults on just the actual plate layer. We're going to want to change that to our null object tracking info layer that we created earlier. Click that, click on OK, and basically what that means is whenever you do the track, all the information is going to be pasted onto your null, which is what we want. So from here, all you need to do is just check whatever you want to actually track. If you want to just do a normal 2D track, you can track the position. You can also track rotation, but it's going to get harder from there. Scale, I'm just going to keep it on position. You're going to see it's going to go frame by frame, and it's going to do its best to track this. And sometimes you'll see it gets a little bit messed up. If it does that, you might need to go back and try and manually fix things, or just try it with a different layer. Like I said, it all really depends on your footage. A great thing to do is if you're setting up a specific effect and you want to put in some sort of cool track thing, like maybe distort someone's face, if you put some sort of pointer on their face, some sort of thing that's easily tracked, that can help a huge amount. So keep that in mind. So once you have that track completed, all you need to do is click apply, and it's going to say X and Y. Just click OK for that. And now you're going to see that the null layer that we created earlier, this little red box, is going to contain that tracking info with all the keyframes needed to actually paste things onto his earring or whatever track point you are going for. So once you've done that, it's as simple as finding something that you want to track in, such as text, 3D layers, whatever it is that you want to track. I made a bunch of videos talking about the application for this. Let's do it with text again, just because it's pretty basic. So let's drag in another text layer, and I'm going to name that test. And I'll move that out of the way just so you guys can really see it. Now, to actually link things to your tracking information using this method, all you need to do is click toggle switches and modes, and you're going to see some of these little track map, parent link options. Find where it says parent and link. You're going to click on that and then select your tracking info. Now it's going to be parented to that null layer. Everywhere that the null goes, this layer is going to go. So if you see I scroll, the test is going to move. The text is going to move in accordance with the earring, because that's where we did our track. Like I said, it's really going to depend on your footage, but that's how you can get things following each other. So that's looking pretty cool. So that is the track motion. Next, let's talk about another cool little music video technique and track method that I like a lot personally. So this was used in the sicko mode music video. It's also used in a lot of meme editing. I talked about this in my tutorial I made on that sicko mode music video. Now what you're doing is using this track to actually track a specific part of the video, just like your other tracks, but the difference is this track will actually take your footage and it'll kind of lock it on to whatever motion target you select. So it's better to just kind of show you guys. So we're going to recreate the method that was used in that sicko mode video, kind of track that was on Drake's face. I'm going to link my full tutorial below if you want to see me talk more in depth about that, but we're going to do the same exact thing. We're just going to click here and go to our tracker window, and this time we're going to click stabilize motion. It's going to open up a track point just as if you were doing the track motion option. You're going to want to take that track point and you're going to want to place it on whatever part of the video that you want to lock onto. So I usually put it on the artist's nose, just like that. If you want to have a cleaner track, you can put an actual like cross or something on their forehead or an X and use that as the track point and then take it out in post. Messing up, depending on your footage, you can actually make this tracker bigger, just like that. So let's click play. And the bigger tracker is definitely helping a lot for the track to kind of lock onto the general area that we want. This doesn't have to be perfect. If it moves around a little bit, it's fine, but you can see the middle cross is staying in the middle of the nose pretty well. So if you are having an issue, just kind of playing around with the size of the track. All right, cool. So that's looking good. All you need to do is click apply, X and Y, looking good. Now, like I said, it's going to lock onto that track point and it's going to make it so that the footage is completely centered within that track point. So the scaling is going to be off. The easy way to fix that is just take the edge and just grow it out like that. And then if I scrub through, you're going to see the kind of effect that you get. And also make sure you're scrubbing through. And if you are still getting those lines, just kind of adjust for it like that. If you want to, you can even use keyframes. Video is staying locked onto his face and the scale is moving with the track point. So it's pretty cool, especially if there's a lot of crazy motion. This clip doesn't really do it justice, but if you have a bunch of crazy motion where the artist's face is moving a lot, there's a lot of high energy, you use this method and you're gonna get this crazy jittery, but just locked on effect. It looks really cool. All right, so now that we mentioned those three main ways of tracking your motion, let's go ahead and talk about some other stuff. Now, if you guys watch a lot of my earlier videos, videos, I use this a lot, and I think this is a really good tracking method for beginners that are just learning how to mask. Masking is a huge part of editing as a whole. I use this a lot still. So what I'm going to talk about is a track mask. So to do a track mask, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask something out. So let's go ahead and mask out this TV and let's put it in its own layer. So I'm just going to click Control D to duplicate this plate layer, and I'm going to rename this layer TV track. And of course, like everything, this depends on your footage. It's going to work easier when you have something that's easy to track onto. I'm going to take my pen tool and I'm just going to do my best to create a little mask within this TV. Bam, connect it like that. Now I'm going to click M on this layer to open up my mask options, and I'll just keep it on add for now. You can keep it on none if you want, depending on whatever you want to do. Now once you have this here, just right click on this mask that's open and you're going to click track mask. It's going to open up your tracker again or highlight it, and you can select position, scale, rotation, keep that default, click play. You're going to see it's going to move frame by frame, and it's going to create keyframes and try and lock onto whatever it is that you're trying to track. And of course, if it's messing up, press the space bar. You can readjust. You may need to do this a few times to kind of patch it up and then just restart the track. All right, so if I scroll through here, you'll see that the track does a decent job at kind of locking onto that TV, and you can do a lot of things with this. For example, if you want to take out whatever is in this TV and then maybe put something else behind it, you can switch the mask to subtract. It's going to take away whatever is within the TV. Now make sure if you are wanting to do that subtract method, you're taking the mask and just Control C to copy, Control V to paste it on your actual plate layer, and you may actually have to line that up. So let's go to the beginning of where these keyframes start, and then Control V on our plate layer, and now you'll see you have the subtraction mask on both. Just grab a little GIF as an example, and I'll drop it down here, and then you take that footage, you line it up with where your mask is. Now you're going to see it completely cuts that out, and you have something else within here. Of course, you'll have to kind of change around the orientation just to fully line that up. But mask tracking, definitely an essential thing you guys should learn. Now let's talk about my last After Effects method for tracking, and then I'm just going to give some honorable mentions of other tracking methods that work a lot better than After Effects that you guys should look into if you really need some advanced tracking. So the last tracking method that I think is pretty useful is the facial tracker. And in my opinion, the facial tracker that's built into After Effects, in my opinion, works better than most of the other tracking methods that you have. So that's a great thing to know, and for that reason, you should definitely utilize the face tracking. Sometimes doing a face track is way better than tracking motion onto someone's face or doing a lot of the other things I've shown, just because the face track works so well with reading facial features. So to set up a face track, all you need to do is select your layer and go ahead and create a circular mask. So this is your rectangle tool. Hold down Alt and click that. You can change that to an ellipse. Then just take that and put it over the face. Now what you can do is I'll just duplicate that layer, Control D, and delete the mask off our plate. And this is going to be our face track layer. So I'll rename that. Now what you can do is come over to your tracker window again, and with that ellipse over your subject's face, click on method, and now you're going to see face tracking outline only and face tracking detailed features. I recommend doing detailed features. I think it works a lot better. So click detailed features, and then you don't have to put it on a null, which is a nice little thing to know. You can just click play. And if you have a clear shot of the artist's face like you do here, it's going to work amazing. Look, it's rotating side to side and it's still doing a really great job at tracking. All right, so here is our facial track. I'll just kind of scrub through that so you guys can see. And you can do this for a lot of things. You can track things onto the face, or what you can do is you can even distort the face by using this sort of track. I know that Film Riot made a tutorial talking about how to create these facial Snapchat filter-like effects using the face tracking method. Great video, definitely check that out. I actually used this in the music video that this footage is originally from to put all those crazy symbols onto the subject's face, and it did a great job at doing that. I also used some little masking and mask tracking just to kind of get the little parts out of that I wanted to. Now let me give you an example how to use this. Let's go ahead and open up our face track points, and you're going to see it has detailed keyframes for every part of the face: your left eye, right eye, nose, mouth, cheek, chin. PNG image, meaning it has a transparent background of some normal glasses looking like this, and I'm just going to use that facial tracker to paste it onto his face. So let's go ahead and take this layer and let's just scale it down because it's too big right now, and then let's position it in front of his face like that. Obviously it doesn't look that accurate, but this is just showing an example. And what we can do here is let's go ahead and just open up our normal transform options just by clicking this little arrow, and where it says position, you can hold down Alt and click on that keyframe stopwatch just like that, and this little script that pops up here, transform.position. Now what you can do is let's open up one of these options. So let's track it to an eye. So for example, the right eye, and look how detailed the facial track is. You can track it to any part of the actual eye, whether it's the eyebrow, the pupil. So let's go back up to this red positioned keyframe. You're going to see once you alt click, it pops up some little options. This is the pick whip tool, the expression pick whip tool. Just go ahead and click and drag this expression pick whip tool to the eyebrow, inner pupil, whatever you want to do. Let's just put it on the pupil. So what we just did, it pops up this little expression, and basically what it's doing is it's parenting the PNG to the right pupil. So it's completely stuck to his right pupil. Let's go back and fix that so that it's not kind of stuck to his pupil. Let's just put it on the bridge of his nose this time. I'll just Control Z, and this time I'm going to take the pick whip tool, and let's set it up so that it's on the nose bridge. So go ahead and take the pick whip tool, drop it on the nose bridge, click, and it's going to move a little bit, but that's fine. It does a great job at sticking onto his face. At first glance, you would even think that these are real glasses. Obviously, these look a little bit fake, but you can do a lot of cool and crazy stuff with this. Now, make sure that you're accounting for rotation because it sometimes doesn't. To fix that, just go up and you can make a little rotation keyframe like this. Just click the stopwatch, scroll to where it messes up, and then just rotate it, and it'll go ahead and rotate for you. So those are the main ways to track within After Effects. If there's any other ways you know of, let me know in the comment section down below. Now, some things that you should know, there are some way better tracking options available. Force Effects makes this great motion tracking called Mocha. I'm pretty sure that with some After Effects versions, it might even be built into it, but it's its own third-party software. It does a great job at tracking. There's also tracking in other softwares like Nuke that work great as well. In my opinion, After Effects tracking isn't the best, but if you take the steps necessary to set up the shot for a track, like I said, for example, putting a track point on somebody's face, then it's going to work a lot better. So keep in mind, it really does depend a lot on the footage. Anyways, guys, that's all for my ultimate guide to After Effects tracking. I hope this helped in some way. If it did, I recommend putting it in a playlist or somewhere where you can remember. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.